Apple production is a primary industry of great importance to Tasmania. The annual value of the crop is now in the vicinity of £5 million, and this represents a substantial influence on state economy and employment. Yes, the livelihood of a large proportion of the state's population is dependent upon the apple industry. Employment is provided in such branches as milling for box timber, case making, harvesting, packing, processing, and waterfront activities. Satisfactory selling on the competitive overseas markets of today depends upon attractive presentation of quality fruit. To ensure this quality, it is imperative that the fullest consideration be given to every phase of production from tree to consumer. Successful presentation and marketing of fruit begins in the orchard, the background of production which we all know. It is of prime importance to know when to pick. This must be at just the right stage of maturity so that the fruit will reach the market in the best possible condition. This right stage of maturity is shown by the way in which the fruit separates from the spurs without much effort, a fact which only experienced pickers know. These apples, for instance, are being picked too early. The stalks do not separate freely from the spurs. Often the leaves and spurs come with the fruit. It can be seen that much of this fruit is stalkless. The stalks are still on the tree. The fruit is immature and not the right color. It is too green. It should have been nearer to this ground color. Fruit must be picked at correct maturity and not when the ship has arrived to take it. If it reaches maturity before shipping space is available, it must be picked, and cold storage facilities are then necessary to hold it in good condition until required for loading. This fruit is being handled at the right stage of maturity. It should arrive on the English market in sound condition. In England, the heavy production of cooking varieties, in particular the Bramley, has reduced the early market for our cooking varieties. Bramleys are gas stored and then released to the market up till June. Despite this seasonal problem about Clios, if we are to maintain our trade, we've got to see that the right fruit is consigned. This fruit, for example, is not in the best condition. It's far too yellow. But Clios picked too early arrive overseas wilted and shriveled. These Clios have been left on the tree too long. If they are picked and shipped at this late stage, this is what happens in England. They open in this forward condition. You will note the yellowness and light-induced scald. Russeting is more apparent on this yellow-skinned fruit, while the greasy skin is sticky and collects dust and dirt, so making the apples less attractive to the buyer. Bitter pit is one disorder, and in immature fruit often develops during the voyage. This pitting was obviously not apparent when the fruit was packed, but with a knowledge of your growing conditions, the incidence of pit can be reduced to a minimum. Hollow core is another problem with Clios, and like bitter pit, it is often masked by immaturity and in fruit harvested from light cropping trees. The Granny Smith is very popular when received in this condition. These yellow grannies, however, reduce the market value of this variety. The yellowing is often traced to delay between harvesting and refrigeration, and for each day's delay during this period, the storage life of the fruit is reduced by 8 days. Prompt handling and packing while the fruit is still green reduces yellowing and ripeness. The Sturmer is another important variety in the Tasmanian and overseas trade. But every effort is needed to get this big crop off the trees at the best maturity period. If they are picked too early, they shrivel and fail to develop full juice and flavor. Moreover, when bitter pit develops during the voyage, it results in poor outturn. So, treat your Sturmers right and consolidate their place on the overseas markets. At present, Jonathans are our largest export variety, but the buyer operates on a choosy market. He is only interested in colored Jonathans, such as these. Far too much of this mixed color finds its way to English markets, where extra fancy and green Jonathans are to be found in the same box. Due to shipping green Jonathans like these, English buyers are now asking for at least 50% color on fancy grades. Is this a fair deal to the consumer? Of course it's not, for these apples have been taken from the top rows in the one box. It's poor grading which affects the reputation of Tasmanian Jonathans. The market requires Jonathans of this type, with a fresh appearance and good color. Jonathans shipped late are a risky venture. Soft mid-season fruit bruises too easily and won't withstand overseas handling conditions. The larger sizes are subject to breakdown. This is not a fair deal to the FOV buyer and proves the wisdom of shipping in accordance with the recommended maturity dates, which are designed to eliminate the arrival of fruit in this faulty and wasting condition. Geeveston fannies are not wanted when under or over mature, nor when their period for marketing has passed. As with Jonathans, they must be shipped at the correct stage of maturity. When sorting Geeveston fannies, it is most necessary to remove all short-colored fruit from the export line. The overseas buyer expects good color, and fruit to be shipped should have this appearance. Delicious are known overseas as a colored dessert apple, and it is essential for the export trade to have this bright color intensity. The Democrat is a late variety, produced in large quantities, but is often left on the trees too long before picking. These Democrats are too big for export. This oversized fruit causes complaints. Very small Democrats realize less money. Democrats of this size are preferred by the trade. They receive priority on a weak and oversupplied market. Fruit sorting needs careful attention all the time. These are familiar scenes, but their importance is not always realized. After passing the sorter, this fruit does not come under close scrutiny until it reaches the consumer. The quality of fruit in any pack is decided at this intake, where it is classed in accordance with export standards. Fruit sorting is one of the most important activities in any packing house. It requires a knowledge of fruit condition and quality and an experience of blemishes. The use of gloves is hygienic and reduces the occurrence of skin puncture by fingernails. Every packing shed should discard blemished fruit from its shipments, particularly those brought about by insect pests and diseases. The codling moth is a big problem, but the skilled eye picks out the apple which, though attractive from the outside, is damaged inside. Small strikes like this, caused by the codling moth grub, often pass unnoticed. This small puncture of the skin is an entry for rots and molds which may develop during transit. The looper grubs of the light brown apple moth cause more injury as they eat large areas of the fruit. Black spot is a serious disease, and blemishes from severe infestation are easily recognized. Whether dead or alive, slight or otherwise, black spot is a blemish not permitted in fancy grade fruit. Fine pinhead black spot occurs late and can develop during transit, so always cull carefully for this disease, particularly with fruit from spotty areas. Ripe spot, known also as lenticel spot, is a fungus disease. The slightest trace of this disorder increases in intensity as the fruit ripens, making it unattractive and unwanted by the consumer. The faintest appearance of bitter pit is a signal to discard. Internal pit makes the fruit useless, as it often becomes worse as the fruit matures. Hollow core of Cleos can be troublesome in certain seasons, and it takes an experienced sorter to pick this internal disorder. Discard hail blemished fruit. It is unsightly and often results in bad shaping, even though the injury has calloused. Hail damage prior to picking is sometimes difficult to detect, but peeling exposes the damage. Even the slight surface damage from hail can be deceptive, but this example shows clearly that it can be deep-seated. Discard fruit of this nature from fancy grades. Also discard fruit subjected to limb rubbing or chafing while growing. It is unsightly on green and clear-skinned varieties. Bruised fruit represents a direct loss, and much can be done to prevent it before the fruit is shipped. Bruising can occur as soon as the fruit is touched. The way the fruit is picked and placed in the bag is most important. Now, this kind of picking ruins good quality fruit before it leaves the orchard, and further bruising results from careless tipping into the boxes. Fruit in picking bags is often pressure bruised when an inexperienced picker leans against the ladder and stretches out to get the last few apples off the limb. Fruit should be tipped correctly to avoid bruising. Remember, loose fruit is subject to skin punctures due to stalks and chafing. Naked fruit in transit from orchard to the grader is subjected to bruising during many handling operations. Care in handling and the use of rubber-tired transports ensures smooth movement. The sledge is now a thing of the past. Its jolting and wobbling through orchard headlands caused untold skin chafing of fruit. Boxes of naked fruit should not be too full and stacked carefully. These boxes are overfull and the fruit is being bruised. Using pallet trays and shed trolleys reduces box handling to a minimum. Stacks of fruit can be moved smoothly and freely around the packing shed. Fruit is frequently bruised when tipped onto the hopper grader, but this may be overcome with a little care. The scratched skin of fruit allows rots to enter and develop. Overflowing bins will cause scratches. The fruit should be pulled back and gloves should be worn. The rotary bin avoids this trouble. Bruising can occur in the lidding press when fruit is packed too high at the box ends. This apple received the full force of the lid. Such trouble can be avoided by packers pressing down the ends of the pack during and after operations. Fruit russet is a blemish and is regarded as such on the market, whether it is smooth or rough like this. A percentage of smooth russeting is permitted in export regulations, but the quality and colour appearance of the apple must be sufficient to absorb the blemish. This type of russeting on Tasmanian Jonathans in the markets is most unfavourable. It is unsightly and not wanted by trade. Overseas health authorities have had analysis done on apples and pears. The results have revealed excess arsenic and lead in some instances. Any consignments of apples and pears with slight spray residue now alerts the health authorities. To avoid far-reaching complications and any dislocation of our apple and pear trade with the United Kingdom, all fruit should be free from spray residue. Green or poorly seasoned timbers make these unsightly boxes. The first objective of a good pack is to see that the box is constructed of suitable timber. Satisfactory boxes depend upon the correct treatment of timber from the log and milling operations. It should be cut early, then stacked, racked and dried before making up during the export season. Though some timber is docked still in its green state at the mill, other palings and heads are cut to specifications after seasoning. Dressed box heads are attractive. They make a good surface for stenciling as well as for the sticking of labels. We can learn from the attractive box making of other countries. New Zealand exports over 1 million boxes of this type. They all look alike. South African boxes are neat and a fine advertisement for increasing fruit exports to the United Kingdom. These boxes show the Argentine's interest in its 8 million bushel industry. It's in the market that comparisons are made. A large proportion of Tasmanian boxes compare favourably with those of other countries, but there is still a percentage of poorly made boxes leaving this state. Packing is a skilled business, and part of the success in marketing rests upon those who pack the fruit. This is good packing, not too high and not too low. Using gloves to pack may be difficult at first, but these packers have no trouble. Besides protecting the fruit from fingernails, gloves also help the hands. The number of fruits in a pack depends upon their size and shape. The correctness of the pack depends on how the fruit is placed in the box. In the standard apple box, the packer places the fruit more firmly at the ends during the packing of each layer. This packing down of the ends and sides results in a crown finish to the last layer, with the highest bulge in the middle. Roller conveyors are necessary in large packing sheds to move the packed boxes from the packer to the lidding press. Dump boxes are packed more firmly, with the last layer a little higher than the top of the box. To consolidate the pack before lidding, each end should be shaken down with a padded lid before it goes to the press. Classes in apple packing for children and adults are arranged by the Department of Agriculture, and instructors are always ready to give guidance. A case with a distinctive label is attractive to the buyer, and a clear marking of the trade description is essential. A distinctive label adds sorting and unloading on the waterfront. These labels are easily picked up by the eye. There should be more of them to advertise Tasmanian fruit. Even from a distance, these labels signify New Zealand fruit. This is good branding. It can be read upside down, and the trade description is clear and legible. Soak your labels in clean water, not too long, but they must be soaked through. This applies in the use of most approved adhesives. It's better to label the head of box timber before the boxes are made up. Apply the adhesive evenly to the box heads, then lay the label, making certain that it's not buckled, blistered, or loose at the corners. Finish off with a wet brush and clean water. Excess moisture will dry out if the heads are spread out, and this allows the labels to stick on properly so they won't come off. After nailing, the draw knife is sometimes used to give dump boxes a tidy appearance. The wiring should be strong and neat so that the box is secure, for it is subjected to a lot of handling in the packing house and loading onto lorries for transport to the port. Packed fruit must be handled at all times with care. Lorry loads have to be stacked correctly. Tarpaulins give further protection to the load on its way to the port. Before fruit is received for overseas shipment, it must comply with the standards of commerce regulations. This makes for fair dealing between grower and buyer. At the Hobart Dunn Street depot, boxes of fruit are examined for quality, condition, presentation, and correct packing. Fruit complying with the regulations is stamped to that effect on the advice note, which is checked as the lorry arrives at the wharf. When the lorries are being unloaded and the boxes assembled on the wharf, final check inspections are made to make sure that the fruit is up to standard. The grower's responsibility in packing and presentation ends on the active waterfront. Fruit shipping is a big responsibility. Much handling is done as the stacks are broken down and boxes loaded onto trolleys. Walking boards are used to reduce bruising. The emphasis is on careful handling as trolley loads of fruit are continually approaching the ship's side. It costs just as much money to ship bad fruit as it does good fruit, and the same for poor packs as for those attractively presented. When the fruit arrives at London docks, gateway to the British trade, it has a journey to the markets by road or barge up the River Thames. Discharging involves further handling, and whether taken by barge or lorry, a great deal of sorting is involved in separating the numerous brands and shipping numbers into many stacks. The great market of Covent Garden has always been a huge outlet for Tasmanian apples. Thousands of tons of fruit and vegetables from all parts of the world are handled each day in this market. In the Strand, the office of the Tasmanian Agent General is a valuable publicity centre wherein Tasmanian apples are attractively displayed to the public. The Agent General maintains close contact with the marketing and distribution of Tasmanian fruit and is frequently seen in the markets. Here with the Honourable Robert Cosgrove, he is examining some of our fruit. It is here that the quality of your fruit is tested and comparisons made with competitors. These are the people who make the decisions, all top experts at their business. If your fruit is poor, they know it. If your pack is poor, they know it. They are hard-headed business people out to make money, and so are you. And here is something to remember. The consumer is color conscious and wants red varieties with plenty of color and green varieties with their characteristic green color. Yes, it's your industry and a very valuable industry, so protect it by exporting quality fruit in good condition and attractive packs, and so ensure your future prosperity and livelihood.